Hello, everybody. Benga Olatunji here. So today we'll be looking at this universal topic, forms of business organization. Forms of business organization is a universal topic in the sense that in every country, any continent of the world, businesses are going on. Anywhere we can find people, business must be conducted. So it's a universal topic when we are talking about the forms of business organizations. And it is interesting to know that this topic actually has a lot to do with your organization and to do with you. So we'll be looking at the sole proprietorship, we'll be looking at partnership, we'll be looking at corporation or limited liability companies as a form of organization. And last but not least, we'll be looking at joint venture. We'll be looking at joint venture. And we are still on a series that we title Building Business Series. So we will be giving and dishing out relevant information at your disposal, just to ensure that everybody is enhanced and given the opportunity to be able to do business with knowledge, with skill, making less of mistakes as we start our home business and the like. So after this topic, still be with us because we'll be looking at how to incorporate your organization, how to incorporate your businesses. We give advisory how you can go about it, where you can engage practitioners to do it for you too. So we will have loved that you continue with us, and for you to continue with us and enjoy this tutorial, you will need to click the notification button so that you can continue to receive notification anytime that we release new video, which we promise to on this building business series. So let us go and subscribe right away, as we are going to be looking at right away forms of business organizations. Business organization is the most singular decision that we are going to make in our journey to business world, and it's going to impact us directly. It's very important, the choice or choices of forms of business or businesses that we make regarding our organization and company. Any form that we adopt will have multitude effects in the nearest future on us and on our business and on how we are taxed and how we relate to the business world. And it's important that we align our goal with our alongside with our organizational form, the types that we've chosen. So the choice that we make for the form of our organization, be it sole proprietorship, be it limited liability company or incorporation, be it joint venture, be it partnership, is going to affect us, how we are taxed, our liability, legal responsibility, cost of formation of our organization, and cost of running our organization, cost of business operations. So it has multi-dimensional effect by the time we've chosen any of these forms of business organization. So it is advisable that we understand what we are doing from the onset. Many business owner, they go into business without having this knowledge. At the end of the day, as the organization continue to progress, they struggle with a lot of things which had, if they've known, they might have chosen another path. So the simplest of them all is sole proprietorship. It's a form of business ownership. Sole proprietorship is a business owned by an individual and also run by someone for their own benefits. The business existence is entirely dependent on its owner for decision making, for running it and the like. So therefore, the implication is this for sole proprietors and sole proprietorship form of business. When the business owner dies, the business also does die. When the owner is dead, the business too is dead. So this is one of the implication of sole proprietorship, but it has its advantages, and the vast majority of businesses start out as sole proprietorship. Vast majority. They are owned by one person, usually an individual, who runs it on daily basis, like the executive of an organization. So the owner owns the asset and the owner owns equally the liability. So it's a complete personal responsibility that the business owner must take for sole proprietorship form of organization. And in the eye of law, the business owner and the business is not separated. In the eye of the law, the business owner and the business or is a business, they cannot be separated. So what are the advantages? Let's quickly look at the advantages of being a sole proprietor. Is the easiest form of business. It's not expensive at all. You want to start your business, you wake up in the morning and you start your business. So it's the easiest. Also, sole proprietorship are in complete control, or sole proprietors in complete control of their organization. So there's no issue of waiting for another person to come and sign before we can take a joint decision on how to run a business. No, the business owner takes the decision upfront. So within the law, he or she is the gross executor of the business decision and idea. Sole proprietors also receive all income generated by the business. So the business belongs to the proprietor. Likewise, I should emphasize it that the loss or the losses too will be borne by the owner. So both the profit flows directly to him or her and the losses equally flows directly to him or her as the sole proprietor. Of course, because it is easy to use and easy to go into, so proprietorship equally is easy to dissolve. It's easy to go into and it is easy to dissolve. So let us look at some of its disadvantage. The disadvantage or disadvantages of sole proprietorship rather. So unlimited liability. If anything should go wrong in the business, even the personal assets of the sole proprietor, of the business owner, will be sold out just to ensure the people that needs to be paid are paid. So this is a very high risk when it comes to sole proprietorship. So we need to think deeply as regards all this area before we make the decision which form of business we want to have, whether sole proprietorship, partnership, limited liability company or corporation or joint venture. Also, their business and personal assets are at risk. Like I said, it's not easy for them to raise funds. They have to depend on themselves, relative or the like, because in the eye of law, the business is seen to be individualistic, to be somebody. So somebody and his business or our business cannot be separated. So them going for maybe bank loan in financial institution is a bit difficult. And this is another critical advantage that a business owner or anybody that wants to go into business must think critically about before making the move. Also, because of the nature of sole proprietorship, some big knowledgeable worker may not be available at their disposal, because those people too will be looking at the responsibility and the longevity of their employment. So they may not have opportunity to employ the best hand in the industry and the like. And of course, even going by resources may not be available to channel for such a purpose. So these are some of the issues that a sole proprietor will encounter. So we are going to move on and as detailed as possible, because we actually want people to have a deeper knowledge of how to structure the organization and what the questions they must ask themselves and answer before they go into business. So, partnership now. So, in partnership, business owners having common idea, having common belief, come together, having common business interests, come together to form partnership. And it is critical that they should know themselves very well before they do this, because it's one of the area in which that can bring down partnership if they do not have common interests, common ideology and philosophy of life. It could, at the end of the day, tamper with the progress and continuity and longevity of the organization. So in partnership, generally, we can divide it into two horizons. So we can have general partnership and we can have limited partnership. So when we are talking about general partnership actually is more or less of a sole proprietorship kind of nature, in the sense that not necessarily they must have a legal document binding them. They just need common understanding. But when it comes to limited partnership, they must sign documents and they must file the documents with the state. Let me come again. In a general partnership, mutual understanding, mutual knowledge and agreement is important. So it could be written, it could be verbatim. But in limited partnership, it is important that this both sign the agreement, or as many partners have come together, they should sign the agreement, what they've agreed on, and such an agreement, partnership agreement, must be filed with the state. So in general partnership, they are highly liable, responsible for any losses or anything that comes up. But when it comes to limited partnership, it requires a formal agreement between the two of them, and whatsoever they've agreed will be the limit of their liability. And that is why it is called limited partnership. But for general partnership, they will be liable like a sole proprietor. But when they go into partnership with limited liability. It limits their liability, and we call it limited partnership. And I said it's important for them to sign agreements, and not only sign the agreement, the state must be involved. So they must file the agreement with the registrar of states organization. In Nigeria, we call such a state agency Corporate Affairs Commission. In the US and the like, they have different names, like usually called registrar of company. So as a person that wants to go into partnership, limited liability partnership or limited partnership, it is important when they want to sign agreements or form the organization for them to think and answer some of these questions clearly, so that at the end of the day it will not come back to haunt any of the partners. They must be able to answer questions like, how would the business be financed? How would the business be financed? So they must be able to answer such a question and arrange among themselves. Also, they must be able to answer the question, what business are we going to do and who are we going to do business with? It is important. Also, they need to answer the question, what happens if a partner dies? What happens if a partner dies? Don't forget that this is not a sole proprietor, is a a partnership. So whether general partnership or especially specifically now we are talking about limited partnership. What happen? How are we going to dissolve when a partner dies? So they must be able to answer such a question, which is critical. Also, what happen if one or both partner or many of them want to dissolve the partnership, but some still want to retain it? If some parties among the partners or partnership want it dissolved, and some are saying let it be, how are they going to go about it? They must be able to answer that question even before they go into the formation of such a company. It is strongly recommended also that an impartial attorney be contacted to write partnership agreement. It is good that we involve professional. We can call on organization of chartered accountants too, or attorney in form of a lawyer practitioner. So if you call on James Associates, we are going to do it for you too. So it is important that we involve professionals in something like this, especially the agreement, so that they can help us to look at it critically, so that at the end of the day it will not come back to haunt us. So what are the advantages of partnership? What are the advantages of partnership? Partnership relatively are easy to establish. Relatively, I say, they are easy to establish. Also, with more than one owner, the ability to raise funds becomes easier and increased. Unlike sole proprietorship, it is easier to increase our share base, is easier to increase fund, it's easier for the world to listen to the organization more than when it's sole proprietorship. Also, prospective employee may be attracted because partnership has a form and attraction of an incorporation or a company. So it's not sole proprietorship. So people can see us better, and even employee can be better attracted to the organization. A partnership also may benefit from a combination of complementary skill. One partner has this level of skill and background, the other has another. So the combination makes something tick. It make a good combination for the organization, and it represents the organization in a way that skill level clients and income will be attracted to the organization. Partnership also can be co-effective. As each partner, they are specialists in their own right in a certain aspect of their business. So they can specialize. So it's not a lone ranger business. They are combining forces together and everybody is functioning at their capacity for the benefit of the organization. Partnership also provides moral support. Unlike sole proprietorship, when the going gets down, he or she is by himself. But for partnership, they can encourage one another and support one another, and we allow for more creative brainstorming. The sole proprietor will brainstorm with himself or ourselves, but when it comes to partnership, we come together and share idea and the like. So what a unique advantage partnership is presenting. So we could see its advantage, we could see its disadvantage, we could see its similarity with sole proprietorship and its advantages over sole proprietorship. So what are the disadvantages equally of partnership? It is good to select a good partner. If not, they are jointly liable. They are jointly liable, especially for the general partnership. They are jointly liable. If one of them should make a grievous mistake, he is going to spiral down to the other partner and they will be jointly liable. In legal terms, we say vicariously liable. That is, they are liable as if they are the one that did the thing, but because their agent has gone to do that, they are responsible for it as if they are the one that was involved in it. So this is one of the greatest disadvantage of partnership. So it is good that in selection of our partners that we select carefully. Just like marriage, you select carefully. Also, profit must be shared with others. And if you are a type you don't like to share with others, especially profit, well, partnership may not be what you should be looking at, because one of the merit of partnership is that you are going to share your profit and its strength too. You are going to share the loss if it happened too. So in partnership, you are going to share your profits with others. So if you are ready for it, please go for it. Another disadvantage of partnership is it can slow down the pace of decision making. Don't forget that it's not a sole proprietorship in which we single-handedly decide. So partnership, you must carry along and obtain the consent of your partner before you can have a major decision taken in the organization. So decisions are shared. Disagreement also can occur. And while disagreements lingers, then it's going to slow down the pace of the decision making that we could make. A partner is for long term, just as we know, and expectation and situation can change. And when expectation and situation change in their lives, we could be sure that it's going to affect directly our partnership with them, which can lead to dramatic and traumatic split of the business too at the end of the day. Also, partnership, if a partner die, it can affect the going concern of the partnership. If a partner dies, it can affect the going concern of the organization. So also, you have to consult your partner and negotiate more, as you can make decision. You cannot make decision by yourself. So we must consult others. We must wait for others. We must wait on others to share knowledge with them on how to progress on our business. And on partnership, last but not the least disadvantage, which is critical, that I'm going to mention among so many other things before we go into corporation and limited liability company, is that for partnership, we have unlimited liability. We have unlimited liability, especially the general partnership. And for limited partnership, we have our liability limited to the extent that we've agreed upon. But as a general rule, partnership has that disadvantage of unlimited liability. And even the liability may not equally be in form of monetary. The liability may be in form of maybe behavioral issue, psychological issue, philosophical issue, that as it relates to our partner, which prior time we might have not known them to be like that, is part of the liability that the partnership is going to experience. So let us go into discussion of or about corporation, which we can equally call limited liability company, LLC, limited liability company. So this is a company in the eye of law, or a form of business in the eye of law, in which the entity is separated from its business owners. Let me come again slowly. An incorporation is a form of business in which its owners or owner, as the case may be, is totally separated and distinct from the business itself. So therefore, there's a divorce between the owner and what is being owned, the organization. So the business owners, the shareholders, are totally separated, having the life of their own, while also the business has life of its own. So the business therefore could sue and be sued, just like the owners can sue and be sued. So the business can assist outside and out assist the business owners. What do I mean by that? So if the business owners died or are dead, the business can continue to perpetuity. So longevity, when it comes to limited liability company or corporation, is for long foreseeable or even unforeseeable future time. So, and this is one of the greatest advantage of incorporation or limited liability company, incorporating a business, because it can outlive us. It has life of itself. It's our liability is totally different. We are not absolutely liable for what the organization does, whether it may profit or loss. So it's a sweet relief when it comes to doing business. I'm not advocating for any of them. I'm only educating us so that we can make informed decision, because all these forms of businesses, they all have their advantages, they all have their disadvantages, and how we should go about managing them. So advantages of corporation or LCC. One of it is that our liability. Our liability is minimized to the extent of our shareholding and contribution. Also, it is often relatively easier to raise money, because business owner and the business is totally separated, and the business is a legal entity that can sue and be sued. So therefore, raising money is easier in any clime. It's easier to raise money having a limited liability or incorporation. Also, Employees are able to own shares, and this is another advantage, especially when we have high level skilled employee that they want to share being the sense of belonging to an organization or share the experience of working for themselves. People like that cannot work in a sole proprietorship, and hardly would they be able to work in partnership, whether general or limited partnership. But this is an advantage that corporation can afford us. We can have high level skilled employee and who can also share business ownership with us. So they are working for themselves. So it gives them opportunity to work for themselves because they can co-own part of the business share. Also, suppliers and customers may perceive that the limited liability company have more credibility. So it gives us credibility, making them keener to the business and to do business with us. So they are a bit at peace, more at peace to work with us as an organization than for other forms of organizations that we've mentioned. And these are great advantages to anybody that incorporates its organization. Anything that has advantage must have disadvantage. So therefore, let us look at the disadvantages of LCC. The disadvantages of LCC. And one of it is that there's a cost of setting it up. Incorporation comes with cost, especially if you do this through maybe solicitor, accountants, and the like. They are going to collect their own fee. The advantage is that they are going to think through on your behalf. They are going to think through on your behalf. But equally, you can do it by yourself and follow through. But make sure that you know what you are doing, and that is why we are giving this information out. Also, there is a whole mass of legislation applying to companies, and you will need to be aware of those that apply to you. So there are a lot of regulations, there are a lot of rules that you must abide with, and knowledge of them is key. So you must have knowledge of them because before you can incorporate and before you can have a limited liability organization and the like. There is also an annual returns that you must file. Annual returns, annual filings, like for with CAC, you must file with LIRS, you must file with FIRS, you must file with different agency of organization, and depending on the country you are listening to me from, you must file with tax agency, you must file with the registrar of companies. And all these take knowledge, it takes compliance to the dates and rules. Also, a company must file annual accounts with the registrar of company. So therefore, you must prepare your financials, audit it. All this come with cost, and file it at specific time. If not, you're still going to be penalized and pay penalty. So the cost of running a corporation is a bit high, just as its advantages are numerous too. And last but not the least, because you are a corporation, human resources regulation must be complied with. Employee regulation must be complied with. National insurance, health insurance, health and safety rule, and the like. We must abide with all this and many more. But it has its own advantage too. So we must be able to think through and choose which one we want to go with. So we are moving on, and I'd love that you subscribe to us. It's free subscription. Click the notification button so that you will continue to receive from us. Like and comment, engage us. Joint venture, what can we say joint venture is? So when we are talking about joint venture, we are talking about people coming together with a singular focus, a singular business idea, undertaking a singular project. And after the project is concluded, then comes the end of the joint venture. So a joint venture is not like partnership agreements because it has definite end to its focus, and it's usually focused on a singular project and a singular undertaking. And like I said, when when that particular opportunity is no longer in existence or the project completed, then comes the end of a joint venture. So it has its advantage, numerous, and of course it has its own disadvantages too as well. So one of its numerous advantage is it gives us new insight and expertise. So we can easily work in collaboration with others to achieve an undertaking and a business idea and explore a business opportunity. So new insights, new knowledge, new even foresight about the trend in the nearest future that we can explore again for joint venture and expertise. So it enhances our capacity to do business, but it has its restriction. Like I said, it's always project focus. It's always focus, and it restricts the people or the organization that enter into joint venture into undertaking any other thing that could conflict with that project. Another advantage of a joint venture is better resources. Better resources. Forming a joint venture will give you access to better resources than ordinarily you can afford, such as specialized staff, specialized technology. All the equipment and capital that you needed for that project can now be used and made available because you are venturing jointly with some other capable hands. Also, it is temporal. It's a temporal business. And for some people, they don't like something that is too long, that they cannot see the end of it. They like doing something now, cash up on a project, cash in and cash out. So for people like that, they can explore joint venture because joint venture will give them that opportunity. So a joint venture is only temporal arrangement between your organization or you yourself as individual and another person. So by then definition, you won't be committing to it for long term. So which is very good for some people by their nature. So it's an opportunity for people like that to have a joint venture rather than to consider any other forms of business. Also, in joint venture, both parties will share the risk and the costs. They will share the risk and the cost together. Also, in joint venture, you are not alone. Both parties share the risk and the cost. So, this may be to your advantage. Joint group projects, and for any reason, if joint group project fails, you are not alone in it when it comes to bearing the cost of its failure, because the venturers, the volunteers must come together and share the expenses. So it's another good side. Also, joint venture can be so flexible. Joint venture can be so flexible. So depending on the assignment that individual is going to contribute in the joint venture, after you've done your bit, expect others to do their own part too, and you can be at rest having had a good understanding and agreement on ground. So joint venture is very flexible. Limited lifespan of the project, your limited involvement in it by way of contributing your quotas, maybe by knowledge, by activity, and anything you've agreed on. Also, in joint venture, there are ways to exit a joint venture. So you can easily exit joint venture by way of the arrangement that you have. Maybe you have the timeline of the operation of the business. Immediately it ends, so dissolved the joint venture. Also, you will know what is yours in joint venture, and you can easily sell it. You will know what you need to contribute explicitly, and you can easily contribute it. So you can easily cash in, you can easily cash out when it comes to joint venture. It's flexible and for limited period of time. Going by way of joint venture, you are most likely to succeed. You are most likely to succeed in that business. Your chances of success will become higher as you're already riding with a renowned brand, people that you are jointly working together. So the chance that you are going to succeed is very high. As a result of this, your credibility, which may not be individual now, will also vastly improve. It may not be individual, so you are leveraging on other joint venturer, the volunteers that you are working together, and they enhance even your home brand. Also, it's a form of networking business, form of organization. So you will build relationship in joint venture and you will network, which is a good advantage. So a smaller venturer in a joint venture is enhanced and projected for its contribution. And when the joint venture comes to an end too, it gives them a leverage and platform to operate better than they've been experiencing as a different or singular organization before. So let us look at the disadvantages of joint venture as a form of business organization. The objective of joint venture usually is vague, and many times when we are entering into joint venture, the knowledge of the project, relevant knowledge of the project may not be handy, and by the time we go into it, we realize that the objective we had in mind before was actually vague, but we just have to cruise along. So it could get complicated along the way. The objective of joint venture are not 100% clear and rarely communicated clearly to all people involved, and this is a big risk when it comes to joint venture. Also, flexibility can be restricted. Like I said before, anybody or any organization going into joint venture, there is usually a clause that will restrict what we can do and what we cannot do within the period of the joint venture. There may be non-compete clause or clauses and the like, which will usually restrict the venturers and the volunteers within the joint venture form of organization. Also, there is no such thing as an equal involvement. It all depends on the project we are undertaking and our own side of it. So, at the end of the day, the venturers may see themselves to have contributed more and the like by virtue of the nature of the project they are going into and the skill they are bringing to bear and the like. But the truth of the matter be told, there's no such thing in joint venture as equal involvement. We just have to stick to what we've agreed on from the onset. It could cause great imbalance also because different companies are working together. There is a great imbalance of expertise, asset involvement, investment of our time, and general investments. So this can have a negative impact on the effectiveness of joint venture. It can have a serious negative impact on the effectiveness of the joint venture. There could be clash of culture. And many times when different organizations come together, venturing together, the human side of things, if not properly well taken care of, there will be clash in the organizational cultures and staff will not be able to work together, having coming from different background, exposure, and philosophy of their different organization. And this clash of culture could really fundamentally affect the prospects of the project. In joint venture, communication breakdown could be experienced because different level of organization are coming together to execute a project, and if they are already experiencing cultural clash, communication may break down along the way. And equally, they can also have unreliable partners. Don't forget that joint venture exists to quickly cash on a business opportunity. So due diligence and the like might have not been properly done to know who and who will be jointly venturing together. And at the end of the day, unreliability on the part of partners as a result of the philosophy, the culture, and even the motive, their experience, the business horizon that they are functioning from, and so many other myriad of situations that and factors that could affect joint venture. So these are forms of business organizations, and like I said, it's a universal topic. People must trade, people must buy, people must sell, people must conduct businesses all over the world. And basically, if you are not in sole proprietorship, you will be in a partnership, whether general or limited. You will be having your organization incorporated or you are venturing jointly with some organization. So this is Building Business series from G. James Associates. We are giving you relevant information to set up your business and to run it more effectively and profitably. So like us, subscribe to us. We are value to life. We are value to businesses. Next time we meet, we'll be discussing how to incorporate your business. How to incorporate your business.